Minnesota because he keeps claiming he won it. He has not. And they are already trying to sow discord.
You're deflecting the issue of the money that's missing.
What we're talking about is a congresswoman who got attacked tonight.
You know what I like about fraud? It's binary.
So let me just answer your question. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar was attacked tonight. That is the actual issue.
What does that have to do with fraud?
Understandably, that's not the topic that we're talking about.
Oh, well, I'm talking about fraud right now.
Okay, well, right now you're listening.
Kevin.
No.
In this video, you're going to see Tiffany Collins take on a panel who are seriously trying to argue that political violence is equally balanced between the left and the right, a conversation happening in the week of Ilhan Omar being attacked at a town hall. Let's watch this together.
Congresswoman Ilhan Omar says that she will not be intimidated after she was attacked while speaking at a town hall event in Minneapolis tonight.
Face impeachment. I don't know.
You can see there that Omar was sprayed with some kind of substance while she was speaking, and she had just called on DHS Secretary Kristi Noem to resign. When the man sprayed her with that substance and that liquid from a syringe, police then arrested him. He's now facing third-degree assault charges. CNN's Sarah Seidner was there as it all unfolded, and she spoke to Omar just moments after the attack. Here's what she said.
Representative Omar, are you okay?
You know, I'm gonna go figure if I am, but I feel okay. I feel that it is important for people, whether they are in elected office or not, to allow these people to intimidate us, to make us not fight for our constituents and for the country we love. And as I said, you know, I've survived war. And I'm definitely going to survive intimidation and whatever these people think they can throw at me, because I'm built that way.
Thank you.
Pause right there. This is a sitting US Congresswoman who was just assaulted with a syringe, a potentially lethal weapon, and her first instinct is to tell the world she won't be intimidated because she's built that way. That is true grit. But keep watching, because as soon as we go back to the table, the law and order crowd is about to show you they don't actually care about the law part when the victim is someone they don't like. Watch Kevin O'Leary's face here.
So Omar has been the subject of all kinds of different attacks from conservatives for many, many years now. But we also know that threats against lawmakers of all kinds have been increasing dramatically, Ellie. And this is just the latest incident. It seems that she was fine, but it could have been much worse.
Well, thank God she's fine. And she really stood up in a courageous way there. I'm glad that this person has been charged with assault. He also should be and can be charged with federal crime of assaulting a federal officer. He should be locked up. He should be denied bail. Look, how can we ignore what's happening? I mean, these types of attacks are increasingly frequent. Going both ways. And part of it is due to the rhetoric. So I think both parties have to be very careful about what they say. So someone like Ilhan Omar, look, she draws a lot of attention. She draws a lot of heat. A lot of people have said a lot of over-the-top things about her. I don't think either side is any better than the other side when it comes to this. And this is the scary outcome.
But the problem is, though, that one of the people who has led the charge against Ilhan Omar is Donald Trump. So when you have the guy with the biggest bully pulpit in the world. He was at Davos last week blasting Ilhan Omar to the Davos audience. I'm not sure they know who she is. And this is the second time in less than a week that something like this happens. Let's remember that this weekend, Maxwell Frost, the congressman from Orlando, was at a party in Sundance when somebody came and beat him up, punched him in the face. And it's also, so this, you know what Donald Trump should do today? If he wants to de-escalate what's happening, he should call Ilhan Omar and ask her how she's doing.
Can I ask a question?
I'm actually going to play what...
Simple question. Why is all this happening in Minneapolis? Why? Why has this become the domestic war zone? What is the reason? Is there a specific area that has caused this? Why? Because I think that's really the question. On a bipartisan basis, why is that not a reasonable question?
Let me just ask you.
Why this place?
Let me offer some possibilities. Minneapolis is a city of fewer than 500,000 people. The Trump administration decided to send 3,000 federal officers to that one city.
Why did they send them?
Which is more than they have sent anywhere else, including Chicago of 3 million, Los Angeles.
But why?
Anywhere. Why? Well, according to Trump, it's because they're going after fraud. But again,
could there be fraud,
is,
Abby? Maybe.
Minneapolis is not unique.
What
in
about that
having
fraud?
jails
What about
that don't
fraud?
let
But
ICE
it's
in,
not-
but they
Yeah,
but if
are
you're gonna go
unique
after
in
fraud,
having
you send
thousands of
fraud
federal officers
investigators.
on the
Send
ground. That is the
forensic
only
Well,
part
why
about
don't we
this
just
that
talk
is
about
unique.
fraud for a minute?
But it's not fraud, Kevin. Like, that is BS.
What is
so
it?
he's saying
A
fraud.
lot of money missing. A lot of money missing.
Use these and less of that.
Taxpayers are asking.
They're sending them. He is targeting Minnesota because he keeps claiming he won it. He has not, and they are already trying to sow
I think
discord.
you're deflecting
in
the issue
I'm not
of the
deflecting,
money
'cause what
that's
we're talking about
missing.
is a congresswoman who got attacked tonight.
You know what I
So
like
you're
about
deflecting.
fraud? It's
So
binary.
let me just answer your question. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar was attacked tonight. That is the actual issue.
What does that have to do with fraud?
Understandably, that's not the topic that we're talking about.
Oh,
You're
I'm talking about
deflecting.
fraud right now.
Okay, well,
Hold on,
right
hold
now
on,
you're
hold on,
listening.
Kevin.
No,
So-
I'm asking about fraud.
Well,
Hold
right
on,
now,
Kevin.
why don't you let me finish my point? Ellie, I take your point that you think is both sides, but let me just say the data respectfully disagrees with you. According to government and independent analysis, since 2001, 85% of political deaths have been from right-wing extremists. There was a study posted on the DOJ about right-wing extremism being one of the biggest issues in America. Of course, it quietly disappeared when Donald Trump came into office. When you think about the big right-wing attacks that have happened in the past 10 years or so, there was the Dylan Roof shooting, the Charleston in Charleston. There was the Tree of Life synagogue attack. There was the El Paso Walmart incident. There was the 2020 arrest of the 13 men who attempted to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer. So every time I hear people say it's both sides, there is no data to back that up, and there's not even a lot of anecdotal evidence to say that. We have to start acknowledging that the side of people, the out loud racists, the people who are saying all these awful things, they are solidly in the MAGA camp. And as long as we don't acknowledge that, we're trying to sweep it under the rug, it
Ellie
doesn't seem
respond
like
to
we're
that.
ever going to really...
Excuse me,
I
what
take your
about the
point.
fraud?
Well, I was gonna say, I
Hold
take
on,
your
hold on.
point,
Let
and
Ellie
I
respond
accept
to
the
that.
data. I'm not saying it's exactly 50-50 equal, but let's also not forget Charlie Kirk was murdered. The president...
Not by a left-wing extremist. That person espoused very right-wing extremists.
Look, if you look at the targets, if you look at people in office, there's...
The right attacks the
There's
right.
people on, but there's Josh Shapiro, there's Melissa Horton, now there's Ilhan Omar on this side, there's Donald Trump on this side, there's Charlie Kirk on this side.
You're saying that, but those
I'm not
are
saying it's
right-wing
exactly
people.
mathematically equal.
But it's not
Take your
even
data-
analogous,
Take your
Ellie.
data.
It's not even
that the
analogous.
rhetoric
Those
on
are
both
right-wing
sides-
Or the fact that there was an
people who
assassination
are
attempt on the
It's not disingenuous.
Republican
That is
president.
BS. And even the attacks that you're referencing, Ellie, those were right-wing people. Like, give me the
That's just not
give me
true.
the
Charlie
evidence.
Kirk.
Let me
That's
let me
not a
just
right-wing person.
let me get
Why
in
was
here.
that not
Hold on,
right-wing? Because
Tiffany.
That is the sound of a both sides narrative being shredded in real time. 85% of political deaths coming from right-wing extremists since 2001. Those aren't opinions, those are DOJ statistics. When Kevin O'Leary or Donald Trump try to tell you that the violence is equal on both sides, they are lying to your face to protect their movement. They want you to ignore the Dylan Roofs and the Tree of Life shooters so they can keep calling people like Ilhan Omar garbage without taking responsibility for what happens next.
because
Let me
he's
just
identified with
try to
their
get us
trans
to a place where we
relationship,
can
but
all
his
be
political
talking
beliefs were
about the same
right-wing.
thing, because I do think this moment is one where there is heated rhetoric that is being expressed by people on the left and people on the right. And when it comes to the threats against public figures, you can make the argument both ways, that right-wing violence is predominantly the problem, but in this particular moment, you could argue that both parties run the risk of their rhetoric leading to violence.
What about if you're not left or right? You're just a taxpayer like me, a lowly taxpayer, and I'd like to investigate fraud. I want my money back if it was stolen from me. Is that okay or is that not okay?
Listen, that
I want my money back.
Well, hold on. I mean, look, Kevin, the fraud is being has been investigated, is
Why are we
being
talking about that?
investigated. People are being prosecuted. The DOJ could be talking about that, but what they decided to do instead was send immigration officials into Minnesota, presumptively because they thought that the fraud was coming only from foreigners, when most of the Somalis who they were
I
targeting
don't care
are
where it's
Americans.
coming from. I want my money back.
So,
Right, but what she is saying
I get
is
it,
that
but the point
nothing
is,
they are doing,
none
nothing
of this
they have
has
done
to do with
is
fraud.
helping you get your money back.
I
Also,
represent taxpayers and I want my
I
money
understand.
back.
Did you hear that? A woman was just attacked with a syringe, and a billionaire, a man with more money than most of us will see in 1,000 lifetimes, is shouting, "I want my money back." He is literally equating his tax bill to a physical assault on a human being. This is the MAGA playbook. dehumanize the target, call them garbage, and then claim the federal occupation of their city is just a fraud investigation.
And then if you represent taxpayers, then tell the
by the way,
president
let
that
me
you
just-
should
let me just circle back.
that he's spending a ton of money to terrorize.
Let me circle back with Jim on this one
city.
thing. Ilhan Omar, in particular, has been the center, and you heard it there from the president, the center of a lot of awful attacks. He called her garbage. What should the president do? Should he pick up the phone and call her? Should anybody say enough is enough? We need to tone this down, particularly when it comes to her.
We should be saying enough is enough across the board on these things. This particular incident, the Josh Shapiro incident, all of them, where the president did pick up the phone and call Josh Shapiro after he had his house burned down in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Those types of things happen. Should he pick up the phone and call Ilhan Omar? That's up to Donald Trump whether he wants to do that. If I were the president, I'd pick up the phone and make that phone call.
Here's the thing, though. Donald Trump is actually responsible for the vitriol. So is there going to be any acknowledgement of that? Should there be?
Well, if he, like I said, if I were the president, I'd pick up the phone and call Ilhan Omar to see if she's okay the next day. Because that's what we do as Americans. We should pick up the phone and care about someone on the other side, even though you vehemently disagree with everything they say.
All right, next for us.
This was a mask-off moment for the law and order crowd. They don't want law. They want a federalized police force to protect their money while their political enemies are hunted in the streets. Ilhan Omar said she won't be intimidated, and we shouldn't be either. But we have to call out the rhetoric that leads to this. When a leader calls a human being garbage from a global stage, he is giving a green light to the violence we saw in Minneapolis tonight. So, what do you think? What was the more disturbing part of this? The attack on Ilhan Omar, or the fact that Kevin O'Leary couldn't go 5 minutes without making it about his bank account? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you hit that like button for more. Thanks for watching.